Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewire to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am thrilled to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 128. If you missed Tuesday's episode number 127, it was all about how our mood could be manipulating our future. How our mood today could be manipulating an outcome in the future. Crazy thought to have. Crazy thought to think about. If you haven't checked out that episode, I seriously think it could support each and every one of you on your own journey of providing new awareness of how much things that we don't realize have an impact on our future, we actually have control of in the present moment, even though we don't feel that control sometimes. And so I definitely encourage you guys to give that episode a listen after this one. For today, number 128, we are going to be chatting about, is your past affecting you more than you realize? So, as you guys know, I took on the role of becoming a coach roughly 5 months ago. Wow, it's been 5 months. Okay, roughly 5 months ago. I didn't realize it was that long until right now in this moment. Through that journey, I have been learning a tremendous amount about how people operate. And mind you, I have hundreds and hundreds of calls when I worked as a one-on-one counselor 2 years ago. And so I have a lot of reps of working with clients and getting to know what makes them tick, what goes on behind the scenes, how trauma affects our body, how our emotions manipulate our life, how our values control our life, so many things. But the biggest thing that I've been realizing is, do you realize how much your past is affecting you? And so I had a session with a client a little while ago, and when she showed up on the call, and as always, everything is always going to be anonymous. I want to use this as an opportunity to maybe help somebody else. So she showed up on the call and we started digging. She basically shared, Jess, I want to get to that next phase of my life. I'm ready to take that next step. But for some reason, there's a block. I don't know what the block is. And so I put my trauma-informed hat on and we get curious. We dive into that. What does that look like? Where does that come from? And she shared with me, I've been digging and asking myself this question for years, decades, and I have yet to land on what it is that is stopping me from growing and taking that next step. I was like, okay, we're going to figure this out today. I was bound determined that we were going to figure it out. And so we started exploring her childhood. We started exploring different stories, different scenarios, and I'm always only going as fast as the client is willing to share. I want to push you to share things so that we can get answers, so that we're able to knock down that next domino, meaning take that next step. But I never want to pose or ask a question that's going to poke at something that's going to break rapport or cause you to go into a state of overwhelm. I want to stay in that harmonized spot while also stretching you a little bit. And so as we started talking about this client's childhood and background, she shared with me how she experienced her parents separating at a very young age. And then she shared a couple of other stories in between of how she was basically left to feel like life was this terrible thing, and left to feel like one of her parents didn't really love her as much as maybe she needed to be shown. So in this scenario, her dad had left once her parents divorced, her dad had left, she lived with her mom. And it was always this weird thing of visiting with her dad, not really expressing emotions. You know, how many of us can relate to that, especially my generation and generations before me, of feeling like emotions weren't really talked about. And so basically what we landed on after going back and forth for a really long time was she realized that she has a fear when things are out of her control. So for example, those of us that have experienced parents separating, that is something that we can really feel deeply. When we feel like something is out of our control, it's like, oh no, what's going to go wrong? Divorce at a young age causes our little minds to contemplate, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Did I do something wrong? Why are mom and dad separating? What does this mean about me? What does this mean about the world? And so although she had never made that distinction for herself before, we had finally realized after doing a lot more digging that her biggest fear comes from situations when she is feeling out of control. And so we realized the reason that she wasn't taking action, taking that next step, getting out of her comfort zone, is because uncertainty causes her system to go into overdrive. And so now that she has that awareness, when she's in those moments, she really has a decision to make. Am I okay with this being out of my control, knowing that I cannot control every outcome? I cannot control what other people think, what they say, what they do. What I can control is how I show up, the work I put into things, and knowing that those that are meant to be in alignment with me will support me. The right people will support me. And so it was very interesting to witness this client realize how much her past was affecting her present. She never realized that an experience that had happened several decades ago was manipulating in a lot of ways her present self. She wasn't taking action because of something that happened years ago that felt like it wasn't a big deal, which was something that I had wrote down. You know, as we get older, we can start to diminish the significance that events have had on our life. Meaning, we can look back at our childhood and we're like, man, it doesn't really seem like that big a deal. But what we need to realize is that as children, things that seem simultaneously small and not a big deal are actually majorly disruptive to our nervous systems. Think about it. Like when we think back now, you know, mom and dad divorced or went their separate ways, it's like, yeah, whatever, like that's all I know now. But at the time, that is massively overwhelming. That is confusing. That is an environmental disruption, meaning we are now facing a whole new way of living and being. We are tossed between these two realities. Our world is shifted. I want you guys to ask yourself right now, is there something in your past that you have maybe diminished the significance it has had on your life? And is that showing up now in ways that you didn't really realize? So much of how we perceive the world as adults is based off of experiences that we've had as children and as youth, right? The reason we want to identify those things is because, yes, we have to identify them to heal them, but it also gives us that permission and awareness to realize how much they've shaped our adult self. So I have multiple occasions that I can think of from childhood where I felt like I was always excluded in a lot of ways, feeling like I was never understood, I was never invited to things, or I was last pick with a lot of things. And I formed a really close relationship with myself from a young age because I felt like I was all I had. And so I've now grown up to be hyper independent and have a really hard time asking people for help or having high expectations of people because I was shown for so much of my life that I'm going to be disappointed. That is my baseline truth, is if I ask for help or speak outwards, I'm going to be disappointed. Just like for my client, hers was, if I speak outwards and I have no control, that's going to be really scary. What is your baseline of your life? What is your primary truth that you have yet to discover or admit to yourself? And I think the reason that we avoid admitting it to ourselves is because it makes those experiences real. It makes them true. But now sitting here 24 years old, I'm like, yeah, they happened. Yeah, they sucked. Yeah, they hurt. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people now have my worst interest at heart. They want to hurt me. In so many ways, we have to show our brain new awareness. We have to show it that the opposite can exist. But we cannot show it that if we don't take action. But it's hard to take action if we don't realize that subconsciously we're blocking having experiences that make us feel that way. So for example, I might avoid trying to spark a conversation out of subconscious fear that they're just going to reject me, so I don't start that conversation. But I don't actually know that consciously, I just avoid. And so you have to be willing to dig in your life. And this is something that I encourage you to do with a therapist or a counselor, depending on where you think you're at in your healing journey, in your relationship with your younger self. But if you have a block that's showing up in your life, even if right now you're like, I never even realized I had blocks in my life, but I might have more than I realized, we need to be willing, if and when we're ready, to dig at what the beneath that is, getting to the underground of what that is. And how can we then tend to that? Although we cannot change our experiences, we cannot change what has happened to us, we cannot change what other people's actions have done to affect us, we can change how they affect us moving forward. We can change our association with it. I know exactly what it's like to not know where to turn, to feel alone, helpless, and stuck. My goal as a coach is to help clients from a trauma-informed perspective see your worth and develop self-belief so you may chase your dreams and trust your intuition to live the most aligned, fulfilling life possible. If you're looking to elevate your life to the next level but aren't sure where to start, I would absolutely love to connect. If you're feeling pulled or curious, please use the link in the show notes below to book your free call. I look forward to connecting and supporting you on your own unique journey. So for example, for me, sometimes I'll go back and I'll tell my younger self, you didn't deserve that. I'm sorry you weren't shown kindness in this area, and I'm sorry that adult you is feeling the repercussions of that. I hope you know that you didn't deserve that. And so I sometimes as an adult need to tell my younger self that is showing up in those moments, hey, if somebody does treat you that way again, that is not your fault. If someone treats you that way again, that is out of your control. And that's something that you need to just let go and trust that if that happens, it's not in alignment for you. The goal of today is for you to assess if your past is affecting you more than you realized. How might your past still be affecting your perception of the world? How are you perceiving the world? Is it accurate, or is it accurate based off of your inner child's experiences? Did you paint a picture of what people are supposed to be, the world's supposed to be, your actions are supposed to be, your emotions are supposed to be, based off of an experience that happened at a time in your life that isn't actually serving you anymore? I wrote down this quote that is from another book that I'm reading called How Emotions Are Made. And it says, when you change the way you see things, things change. When you change the way you see things, things change. This client had the first aha moment she has had in a long time, if at all ever in her life made that correspondence. And because of that new awareness, she now knows that that's what's driving her a lot of the time. So she now has the ability to say, hey, you can sit in the passenger seat and be here with me because you're a part of me, but I'm going to drive now. You can drive at certain times to keep me safe, but other than that, I'm going to drive now because you're not serving me anymore. We need to know that those past parts of us that are affecting us did serve us at one point in time or another. They helped you to get to where you are. My goal is for you guys to assess the things that are no longer serving you. They've just become wired within you. And how can we identify them so we can rewire them so we can change the outcome? This is work that only you can do. It is not an easy road to do, but it is a very fulfilling road to go on. Because if you're able to get answers for your adult self and basically heal your inner child and store those memories properly, we're able to live a more fulfilling life. Because if most of our life is still stuck at one phase of our life, we're really not enjoying the ebbs and flows of new phases, because we're stuck mentally at a stage of our life that has been effed up in a way. How is your past affecting you more than you realize? Because it is. We need to know that it is. We need to know, though, is it steering us in the right direction? Is it keeping us stagnant? Or is it holding you back? If you would like support with this, just like I was able to provide to my client, even though at the end of the day, you are the one doing the work, she is the one that does the work and is doing the work, I can be there to support you, to guide the ship. I can help guide you. I can ask you questions that might make you think differently, to help you analyze differently. My background is in social work, specifically in studying trauma and how it affects the brain and the body. I am very passionate about inner child work, about how our experiences shape us as adults, but how we can change those and rewire those so that you can kickstart your growth journey. You can embark on that new journey of your life. It is very hard to grow and evolve if we don't feel we're worthy of it, if we don't know what that looks like, or we don't believe that we can. I can be here to support you to rewire what that belief paradigm is. Is that something that's been inflicted onto you and you've carried this belief for so long? You deserve to heal that so that you can live the most aligned, fulfilling life possible. So if you're looking for support with this, my link is below. I definitely encourage you to book a free 30-minute call. We can chat, see if it would be aligned to be a one-on-one client. I'm still offering free 3 months of free coaching. This isn't going to be available for much longer because my roster is filling up. But if this is something that you're curious about, we can do one call together and you can assess from there. My goal is to provide value and to support you on your own unique journey. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. I hope you're sitting there from the lens of contemplation, analyzing your life, and knowing that that is exactly where it starts. And I hope you know how worthy you are to find those answers. So I look forward to chatting with you all next week. I hope you're all having an incredible, incredible day. And I look forward to chatting with you then. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at Jessie Brown 13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.